Yeah, they can unmute themselves and start.
Siddharth, unmute and introduce both the speakers.
Yes.
Siddharth?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I welcome everyone to the 32nd Layman and Housing Law Seminar conducted by the Rotary Club of Bombay West. Today with us we have two esteemed speakers from the GST department. Our first speaker is Mr. Kiran B. Shinde, who has completed his MTech in Agricultural Engineering. He had joined the Sales Tax Department in 1997 as an Assistant Commissioner of Sales Tax. Previously, he was posted in the Acts and Rules Investigation Department, Legal Cell, Large Taxpayers Unit, and the GST Cell. And currently, he serves as a Deputy Commissioner of State Tax in the GST Cell. Our next speaker is Mr. Deepak Gozamgunde. He has completed his BSc in Mathematics and he's an MBA in Finance. And he had joined the Sales Tax Department in 1998 as an Assistant Commissioner. His previous postings have been in the Audit, Acts and Rules, Large Taxpayers Unit, and the EIU Department. And currently, he's posted as a Deputy Commissioner of the State Tax in the GST Cell. I welcome once again Mr. Kiran and Mr. Deepak for our layman and housing law seminar, and we hope this seminar is quite enriching and enlightening for all of us. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Myself Kiran Shinde, Deputy Commissioner.
Deepak sir, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, Deepak sir, please go ahead.
Sir, this is Kiran Shinde. I also means welcome all of you. Plus, and thanking for giving invitation to this esteemed seminar. And now I will ask Deepak Gozamgunde to present this presentation on the GST taxation.
Sir, he has to unmute himself.
Yeah. Thank you, Shinde sir and Sutar sir and all the delegates of this esteemed organization. It's our privilege to be here and talk on this topic. So I will proceed with my presentation. I'm trying to share my PowerPoint PPT with all the delegates. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes.
It is visible. Yeah.
It is visible, sir.
Okay, this taxation of cooperative societies is actually not a new concept for the GST. This is a continuation from service tax, we can say. Earlier, under the service tax also, service tax regime, there was taxation to the societies on the services offered by these societies. Only thing was after the 2012, the exemption limit was much less. I think it was rupees 3,000, and then later on only it became 5,000. So when we came into the GST regime, the exemption limit was rupees 5,000 to start with, which from 25th of January 2018, we went over to the exemption limit of rupees 7,500 per member per month. So this is not a new tax, I would say. This is just a continuation from service tax. But there are certain additional features into the GST that also we need to understand. For example, we did not have the ITC in the service tax regime, but now we do have the input tax credit to the societies. So we will proceed as to how these provisions have made the cooperative societies liable to tax. Now, we have the definition of supply in section 7. Section 9 is our charging section. Section 7 defines various types of supplies which would be liable to tax under the GST. Here what we have done is the supply from a person, various types of supply have been mentioned in 7A. For the furtherance of a business are liable to be taxed. So first thing that we should consider is whether the cooperative societies are a person. So what we have done is we have specifically defined in the definition of the person at the clause number 84 of section 2 there that the cooperative societies registered under any law relating to the cooperative societies would be a person. So it's like a deemed fiction we are saying that the cooperative societies would be a person. Further, in the definition of business at clause 17, we have a subclause E wherein we have stated that business includes provision by a club, association, society, or any such body for a subscription or any other consideration of the facilities or benefits to its members. So through this definition, we have said, though the society is a non-profit organization, though the society is just offering a membership services, but we say this would be a business. And that is why wherever in the GST Act, there is a word services offered to a business entity. Many of the services which are offered to a business entity is liable to pay taxes under reverse charge also. So for that, it is necessary that the person should be a business entity. So by virtue of this definition, cooperative societies have become business entities. In the common parlance or in the normal rationality, we may not grasp this, but as a matter of legal fiction, we should understand that societies, the work done by the societies or the services done offered by the societies, they do fall under the definition of business. Now, first of all, what is important is when would the societies would be liable for registration? That we will just see. Now we have got two main provisions for registration. One is the section 22. What 22(1) does is it gives out the turnover limits for a person to get registered. Now currently what we have is for the services we have a threshold limit of 20 lakhs, and for those which deal in goods or services plus goods, specifically the limit for the 40 lakhs, and those who deal in services and goods, they have again the limit for the limit of rupees 20 lakhs only. So we need to understand what comes in this 20 lakhs. So this is 20 lakhs is an aggregate turnover. So when we define aggregate turnover, everything comes under it. It also includes the exempt services. It also includes the non-taxable ones. So your almost entire receipts are covered under this 20 lakhs. So if any society has a turnover of 20 lakhs, they would be liable for registration, unless one thing we should know here is there's a section 23 which says if the entire turnover is of exempt services which are not liable to tax, then registration is not required. Now this bifurcation of which services are exempt and which are not, that we are going to see further. Right now, we should only know that if a society, even if it process total aggregate turnover of 20 lakhs, but is offering only the exempt services, then also they are not liable for registration. Now, this is as far as registration under section 22 is concerned. Now, there is another type of registration requirement that is under the section 24. Now, what section 24 does is it lists out certain activities in which cases there is a compulsory registration without any requirement of the turnover. So, various things have been mentioned over there. At the serial number 3, what is mentioned is if the tax is payable on reverse charge basis, then the compulsory registration is required. So we should understand here, even if the society has not reached a turnover of rupees 20 lakhs, but if they undertake certain inward supplies, that they purchase something, then, and if they are liable, if such purchases are liable for taxation under RCM mechanism, reverse charge mechanism, then without any requirement of the turnover, they will immediately become liable for the compulsory registration under section 24. So these are the provisions for registration for a cooperative society. Now, when we actually distinguish which are the services liable to tax, which are exempt services, then these registration provisions would get more clarity. Now, let's understand, since the requirement of registration under section 24 is without any requirement of the turnover, it is better that we understand this type of these provisions under section 24 in detail. So now, what are the services that the if the society procures, they would become liable for reverse charge? Now, there's a notification under number 13 of 2017. It has specified 16 such services. Services which, if the society procures, they will be liable for tax on reverse charge, and then the compulsory registration will come in. Now, out of these services, what I have done is balance services are not much relevant to the society. 3 services are much relevant for the society because they are often required by the cooperative societies. So I have limited our discussion. I have kept these 3 services for our discussion. These are GTA services, then they are the advocate services, and they are the security services. Now, let's first understand the GTA services. Now, suppose society wants is doing certain work, and they want to procure certain goods, like say tiles. They procure these from a GTA. So what happens is, as soon as they procure such a services from a GTA, and the GTA is not paying taxes at 12%, then it so happens that in such cases, the society would be liable for paying taxes on the reverse charge. Now, second are the advocate services. Now, as far as there are many a times litigations that the cooperative societies undergo regarding various transfers from the builders to the societies or the conveyance issues. So they have to appoint the advocates. Now, as far as the advocate services are concerned, one should understand that the legal services which are offered by an advocate or a partnership firm of advocates, they are already exempt by virtue of our notification number 12. So their advocate services are exempt under the 3 circumstances. If the advocate services are offered to another firm of advocates or another advocate, then it's an exempt service. If it is offered to any person, any layman person, then also it is exempt. And the third is, if it is offered to a business entity, whose turnover in the previous year makes it eligible for exemption from registration. So that is if any society's turnover is less than 20 lakhs and if such services of advocate are procured, then they wouldn't be liable for the reverse charge, because basically these services then are the exempt services. So while planning out their work, they should know if they take these services, they would become for reverse charge. Now we would move on to the exemption services on which there is an exemption and the services which are not under exemption. See, society offering the services as a membership services to its members. So what has happened is we have listed the services accounting code of 9995 as the services offered by the membership organization to their members. So in the notification number 11 at serial number 33, these become get taxable at the rate of 18%. So now what has been done in the scheme of the act is certain services have been exempted by way of notification. So we have a notification number 12 dated 28/6/2017. So at serial number 77, we have an entry for the exemption of housing societies. So this provision being very important, I would like to read it so that we can then discuss the contents of this provision. So it states like this: services by an unincorporated body or a non-profit entity registered under any law for the time being in force to its own members by way of reimbursement of charges or share of contribution. A is as a trade union. This is not relevant to us. B is for the provision of carrying out any activity which is exempt from the levy of goods or service tax. Or C is up to an amount of 7,500 rupees per month per member for sourcing of goods or services from a third person for the common use of its members in a housing society or a residential complex. Now, this part C is very much relevant to the cooperative societies. So it clearly says when the per month per member charges of sourcing goods from a third person for the common use of the members. So what is important here is that the collection from the members or the reimbursement from the members is for the purpose of procuring the services from the third person. So this important condition needs to be understood. If the services are being offered by the society on its own, so many times society offers services like say transfer fees or non-occupancy charges or the parking charges. They are offered by the society on their own. They are not procured from the third persons. So they wouldn't get covered under part C over here. So whenever we have a doubt whether certain service is exempted and is to be combined under this exemption limit of 7,500, the main key is to ascertain whether this has been procured from the third person or not. The reimbursement that we are doing it, we are getting from the members is for procuring goods or services from the third members. So if it is being procured from the third person or it is decided to be procured from the third person, then that reimbursement will get covered under this 7,500 limit. Or else it would be, if it is a taxable, it would be straight away taxable at the hands of the society. Or then we also need to see if basically it's an exempted service, like 77B says, for the provision of carrying out any activity which is exempt from the levy of goods and service tax. I hope this provision makes us clear which services would be liable to tax and which would be exempt. Now we will take this discussion further. Now, the statutory taxes, various taxes that they are paid by the society, say like the property tax or certain electricity charges, which the society is required to be prepared, they are exempted outright. So they'll be exempted under the 77B. So we did not go for seeing whether these are required to be considered under 77C for 7,500. No, first you remove them. First you remove these statutory duties, and then the balance amount is to be considered for this 7,500 rupees limit. Now, mainly the charges that are collected by the societies are in terms of the maintenance charges. So whenever these charges are collected, so we can have a breakup of this entire reimbursement into three parts. One, the statutory charges. So you first, from the total amount, you remove the statutory charges, like say any non-agricultural sales or anything like property tax or electricity charges, and then the balance amount, whatever remains, you can make it into one that is covered for under 77C, that is the charges which are to be procured from the third parties, and the balance which are offered directly by the society and which need not be covered under this limit of 7,500. Now, the bifurcation that I have done in this chart may give us an idea about that. Now, first column shows the charges for exempt services, 77B. So these are the property tax, water tax from corporation, non-agricultural tax from Maharashtra state, so government electricity charges. Now, regarding the electricity charges, one should be clear, if the society is offering certain electricity related services on its own to the members of the society, it won't get covered under these government electricity charges, or there would be the separate services offered by the society to its members and likely to be covered under the entry 33, wherein the tax is 18%. So the exempt services are under 77B, which are mainly in the nature of statutory levies or the exempt services. Now, charges to be included in rupees 7,500 under the exemption under entry 77C. This we can list as given here. One is the repairs and maintenance fund. So any repairs and maintenance work that the society keeps carrying out would definitely be covered over here. Now, many a times the questions are raised regarding the sinking fund under the bylaws of the society. So now, as per current understanding, we say though this fund is to be utilized in the future, it would be mainly for procuring the services or the goods from the third person. So this would be covered under the 77C. Now, many times doubts are raised whether the swimming pool charges or the clubhouse charges which are levied by the society. But swimming pool charges and the clubhouse charges, these are for the maintenance of swimming pool and clubhouse, and the maintenance is carried out by the third parties or from the third party members or from the outside, then these charges which are procured from the members would certainly get covered under 77C. Now, the taxable charges which are not covered over here, they are the taxable services and would not get covered within this limit of rupees 7,500. They are the parking charges, non-occupancy charges. Now, even the interest which the society recovers for the late payment also becomes the taxable. Share transfer fees, charges for use of common space by member or outsider, income on renting of mobile tower. So many times what society does is it offers for some function a common space or a community hall within its society premises, and then these become taxable charges. Now, once we have understood what are these various charges, we need to now understand, once the charges in 77C, they exceed 7,500. So the tax is not only on the excess above 7,500, but tax gets levied on the entire amount. That is, if suppose the total amount under 77 goes to 10,000. So it is not that 10,000 minus 7,500, that only the 2,500 would become taxable, but entire rupees 10,000 would become taxable. This is one thing that we should know. Secondly, the taxable charges I am showing here as the parking charges, non-occupancy charges, no tax is required to be levied even in respect of taxable services if the society is not liable for registration. If society is not liable for registration, when I say society is not liable for registration, either their turnover has not exceeded 20 lakhs. If it has not exceeded 20 lakhs, it is offering only the exempt services. Now, if society is offering these taxable services, then they would not come under that the entire receipts are on account of exempt services. So, if the society is not liable for registration, then the society is not required to collect GST in respect of even the taxable services. If the society is liable for registration or is already registered, then what they are required to do is, in any case, they have to charge the tax in respect of taxable services. And then if the members' collection reimbursement charges or the monthly charges from the members, which are in the nature of maintenance, repairs and maintenance, which fall under 77C, that is the services procured from the third parties, if they are still below 7,500, then no tax is required to be collected on those. So even if the society is liable for registration or is already registered, if the monthly charges are less than rupees 7,500, I'm speaking only in respect of services falling under 77C. In respect of those, no GST is required to be collected. But if society is already registered and there are certain taxable charges, then they are required to collect GST only in respect of the taxable charges if the monthly contribution in respect of 77C is falling below 7,500. If the monthly contribution goes above 7,500, then on the entire amount, GST would be applicable. In no case, the charges, the exempt services like statutory duties that I have mentioned in the first column would become liable to tax, whether the society is registered or not, or their turnover goes up or not, it doesn't matter. So I hope this entire concept now becomes clear. And now I would just like to make one more thing clear about the ITC provisions for the society. Now, first thing is, input tax credit is available only to the registered dealers. So if any society is registered, then the GST paid on their inward supplies, they make several purchases from outside, purchases of goods, purchases of services. even there are certain capital goods, like say you purchase a diesel pump. So if in respect of all these, input tax credit would be available to the registered societies, and then they can adjust this input tax against their outward liability. So these are the ITC provisions for them. So we have gone with the need of registration, charging, where the exemption lies, and these the ITC provisions. Now we may get any queries from the member so that we can again explain on this concept further.
Sinde sir, you may answer the queries. Mr. Dharmendra, Rotten Dharmendra is handling the chat box. Dharmendra, please go ahead.
Sir, yeah. So currently
Sir.
we have not received any queries right now. Can we take the Q&A after both the speakers talk, or should we take it down?
No, Sinde sir is going to answer to the queries to you. If you can highlight.
Oh, there is no question as of now. Anybody is interested to ask any query, please.
Dharmendra has sent queries. Dharmendra has sent the queries to Sinde sir already.
Okay.
So you can, this is Kiran Shinde, you can tag that queries one by one. But before that, my colleague Mr. Deepak Gozangunde has made nice presentation covering all aspects of your taxation of registered taxation of a cooperative housing societies. But before going to the question and answer session, we both will respectfully submit you. So whatever views expressed by both of us are our personal views, and they should not be taken as the State Tax Department's view. This actually we are considering this webinar as for the purpose of educating each other. So, and if offhand, if we cannot answer any of your query, then we will take back that query to our office, and after further study, we will come back to you. So you can start your question and answer queries.
Shinde sir.
Yes.
I will tell the queries which Sutar sir has already sent us. So you may answer them one by one.
Okay.
Now, first query that he has said is, if the monthly maintenance is rupees 4,000, and this includes rupees 2,500 services provided by society to members such as parking charges, interest and non-occupancy charges, and balance 1,500 services are from the third party. So how would the taxation liable in these cases?
First of all, you have to see whether your total turnover has crossed 20 lakhs or not. In this case, whether turnover is exceeding 20 lakhs rupees. If it is
now consider both the options. Now let's first take it exceeds rupees 20 lakhs.
We'll take both options. First, I will take the option of it is not exceeding 20 lakhs rupees. So the turnover, if it is not exceeding 20 lakhs rupees, then actually you are not liable to pay any tax on the whatever services are provided by the society, whether they are above 7,500 or below 7,500. If your turnover is not exceeding 20 lakhs rupees, and you should not procure the this RCM services basically. Then if your turnover is less than 20 lakhs, no. So only by way of a RCM, if you are taking a services of RCM, then you are liable for registration even if your turnover is below 20 lakhs rupees. So what care you should be taken? Basically, only the GTA concept is actually bothering most of the taxpayers. Once you take a GTA services, good transport agency services, then you become liable without any threshold limit. So generally, your society should not take a GTA services. GTA services, you all know the GTA services, right? Or I have to explain you the GTA services? Hello?
No, it's okay, sir. GTS
So basically, you can just hire a tempo or a vehicle for this. Should not actually contact the goods transport agency. So
Yeah.
you will come out of that means of that RCM registration. Right now, we are coming where most of the societies in Mumbai are having aggregate turnover more than 20 lakhs rupees. Sir, in such cases, we have to just Mr. Gojam Munde has told you, explain it very well. You have to bifurcate your this income into the three different categories. First of all, if it is exempted income like a stamp duty, yes, this transfer property tax, then water supply charges, electricity charges, these are exempted. You have to bifurcate, remove that charges, right? Then after removing these exempted charges, now there will be two charges. First, whatever consideration received as per the reimbursement of charges, and charged by the society on its own. Now, if in this example, actually the reimbursement charges are 4,000 rupees, I think, right? And rest of the charges 2,000 are actually billed by society. So in such case, if your turnover is more than 20 lakhs rupees, then you are liable to pay tax on the charges which society had charged but not procured from outside. And your 4,000 charges, which are reimbursement charges, will be exempted, because up to 7,500, the third party reimbursement charges will be not liable to tax. But other charges that is billed by society, like a parking charges, then community hall rent charges, this will be taxable. Hope I clear you.
Sir,
Deepak,
one
anything?
additional, Sinde sir, I would like to add to that for benefit of all the participants. Say, for example, if the total service charge bill is 7,500 rupees or more, or rather up to 7,500, so it comes under the exempt category. However, it includes 3,000 rupees towards the society's own charges, like parking and interest and all these things which you mentioned. So in that case, only the third-party services will be exempt for the purpose of taxation, or even 3,000 will also be exempt?
No, 3,000 will not be exempted.
That
Only
means
the
even
third
though-
party.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That means even though the bill is less than 7,500 rupees, the member has to pay the GST on those services which are offered by society on its own and not from the third party.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you, sir.
But this is subject to the society's turnover is above 20 lakhs and they are registered.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is the condition. If the society's turnover is more than 20 lakhs, or it has already registered itself under the GST law.
Right.
Sir, second query was, with your permission, sir, I will highlight the second because in which context I had drafted the question, I'll be able to present accordingly. The second is monthly maintenance is 4,000.
All right.
The society registered under GST law. These include 2,500 rupees towards service provided by society to members such as parking charges, interest and non-occupancy charges, and the balance 1,500 for services procured by the society from third party. And the society is already registered. So in that case, what
Yes,
will be the position about the services provided by society amounting to 2,500 out of 4,000 total bill?
Sir, these 2,500 services which have been provided by the society on its own account, not third party emergent,
Yeah.
they will be taxable because you have crossed the threshold limit of 20 lakhs rupees. So you become registered. And after registration, basically bifurcation into exempted and taxable. And out of this taxable, reimbursement charges of 7,500 are again exempted from that. So you have to calculate in this way.
Sir, my third query is, monthly maintenance is 18,000 per month per flat per member. This includes 8,000 services provided by society to its members such as parking, interest, etc. And 10,000 is for services procured by society from third party and provided members. but the total turnover is less than 20 lakhs and society is not registered under the GST. So in that case, what is the position?
In that case, you don't have to take any registration and you are not liable to tax because you have not crossed the threshold.
Okay, fine, sir.
Yeah.
Fine, thank you very much. Number four query is,
1 minute, sir. Deepak, correct me if I am wrong. Deepak.
No, no, that is correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
sir, my next query is, it is the general query, taxability of sinking fund, repair fund, transfer fees, transfer premium, major repair fund contribution, and legal expenses fund contribution. These are the special funds sometimes some societies constitute for the purpose of future expenses. So what is the position of these various funds?
Sir, if you see the circular issued by the department and the FAQs, these all charges are taxable basically. Means you say the this sinking fund, maintenance and repair fund,
Yeah.
then non-occupancy charges, car parking charges, simple interest of a late payment. This all attract GST.
But here there are the special funds that constituted for future expenses. Say for example, some societies in litigation, and they expect to go up to maybe the Supreme Court also, where the expenses are going to be very huge. So what they do is they constitute a fund in which they want to collect 1 crore rupees. For that they charge 10,000 per month to all the members.
Sir, these actually this will be for procuring legal services, if I am not wrong.
Yes, yes, for procuring legal services.
So basically, as per this reverse charge, advocates, Mr. Gojamunde has explained you, this advocate services to a register to a business entity,
Yeah.
they are under reverse charge.
Yeah.
So they are taxable, right? So now, just like a maintenance and repair fund, just like a sinking fund, this fund you are collecting for a future liability.
Yeah.
So it will form part of this your GST taxation.
Yeah.
There are some judgments and AR also they have confirmed some. There are different views in different AR, but as per the circular issued by the state government and central government, these charges, whatever charges are you are mentioned, sinking fund, repair maintenance fund, car parking charges, non-occupant charges, they are actually liable to tax. You have to just see whatever fund you are collecting for some purpose, if that purpose is exempted under GST or not. If it is exempted, then there will not be any tax. But if it is not exempted and it is a third party contribution, then it is 7,500. Otherwise, it is taxable.
Sir, the main argument for the societies who advocate that they are not liable on these charges, I'll tell you one of the arguments is, say for example, major repair contribution is collected by the society. They have constituted a fund major repair. Now they want to use it after 3 years when that fund is sufficient to meet the major repair expenses. Now they say that contribute.
Sir, there is a disturbance in your voice, sir.
Is it okay? Some instability is there in the internet connection. Sir, should I repeat my query?
Yeah, please, please.
Some of the societies collect major repair fund for
Sir, actually, there is problem in connectivity, sir.
Still there is an issue.
Yeah, all members are actually facing same either, I think.
Now you are audible, you can repeat your.
Yeah, it is breaking in between.
Yeah. So my point is major repair contribution will be when charged by the society in advance for 3 years. Will it be subject to GST by the society?
Sir, advances are taxable under GST. Sometimes basically it is a bit just as a matter of discussion. It should not be taken as any view of a department. Sir, some people are treating it as a deposit, and there is a different special treatment for a deposit under the GST Act. So deposit as it is are not taxable, right? There are two types of refundable deposits and non-refundable deposits.
Yeah.
So deposit which are refundable, they are not taxable. Second thing, deposit, and there is a one provision under consider. If you see the definition of a consideration, then the deposits when they are apportioned towards the supply of a services, then they are taxable. So there are two views. Ki basically, people are treating it as an advance. Some people basically it is advance. Why? Basically, ki in future you are making to going to give a contract to for this major repairs, right? So there will be a service provided by contractor to society and society to member. So in such cases, people are treating as an advance. Some people are treating as a deposits, and some people are paying taxes on that. Now, question remains: ki once you are collecting these deposits in an earlier stage, and if you bill to the members, then you will have to levy tax, right? But the society will not have ITC because that contract will be given in a future, and in future that contractor will levy GST on you, and that ITC will remain unutilized because first you have charged. So it is basically some people, as a matter of discussion, people treating it as a deposit, and whenever you are apportioning it to the supply towards the supply of services, then the taxability comes. So what will happen? Ki basically there will be a bill from a contractor to the society on which you can claim ITC, and same time you can bill that whenever you are apportioning that services, you can bill to the members, and while billing to the members, you can take the ITC on your inward invoices.
Uh,
Shall I explain you again?
No, sir, I'll ask additional question for clarity. Say, for example, a society says that they would take deposit from members every month, and that deposit will Am I audible, sir?
No, you are now audible. But before that,
see,
you just...
my target is 70 lakhs rupees after the end of 3 years, correct? Now I collect every month 5,000 from all the members, but I collect it as a deposit from the members and not as a charge, major repair contribution. But at the end of 3 years, I will transfer the entire amount collected in 3 years against the contribution for major repair fund. So in that case, I think since the deposits will not be taxable, it is not an advance also, and therefore the taxability will come at the end of 3 years when I transfer these deposits to the contribution to major repair fund. Am I okay?
Sir, actually, I have just explained you the same way. Ki basically, you have to classify either as a deposit or either as advances.
Yeah.
You cannot keep it as it is, right?
Yeah.
Now, sir, there is a different treatment for advance and deposit. There are two views, which is actually there is no clarity on that.
Yeah.
But I will just tell you the provisions of law. If you see the definition of a consideration, deposit are not taxable unless they are apportioned towards the supply.
Okay.
This is the actually theme line you have to read.
Okay.
Second thing, regarding sinking fund, actually there is a advance ruling of I think one of the state. They have said that this sinking fund will not be taxable. But be careful because the issue actually we have not gone into the detail. But this sinking fund, just like a deposits, but once you apportion that deposits towards the supply, then they become taxable. So they might have not clarified further, or the issue might not have been raised by the applicant. That's why they have initially deposits are not taxable. In that view, they might have given this order. But just a matter of precaution, I will say that these deposits, whenever you are apportioning towards the any supply, right, then they become taxable. This is as per the provisions of law.
Okay, sir. Now I go to the next query. Query number 5, which I have drafted. Water charges when provided by local authorities are considered the water tax even though the local authority does not say it is a tax, it says that water charges in the BMC. It is a water, it is a supply, the charge is levied by the local authority. However, many societies also get the third party water from the tanker. So that tanker water is not the government use, it's a private supply from the third party. So can you differentiate between the two, the point split in the hands of society?
So basically, water charges levied by the BMC, that is the statutory authority.
Yeah.
They will be actually exempted. But if you are procuring, society as on its own procuring some water from the private party and supplying, it will be a normal course of services of providing water. So that will be that will not be exempted.
Okay. But there are the next query is when service providers may or may not be registered under the GST law.
Hello. Hello.
I think he has lost the connection.
Yeah, lost.
Yeah.
Sir, you have lost the connection. Please, will you please repeat your?
I'll repeat it. Say, for example, some service providers like the gardeners and the lift operator and the drivers may not be registered under the GST laws.
Right.
And these are not covered by RCM provisions also. In that case, these services are procured by the society and provided to the members. And the bills are more than 7,500 rupees. So what will happen to these charges? Say for a garden charge is 500 per month. And the total charges are more than 7,500 rupees.
This reimbursement charges are more than 7,500 rupees?
500, yes.
So if reimbursement charges are more than 7,500 rupees per month, then all the reimbursement charges will be taxable.
Okay.
Once you cross that 7,500 limit, then all the from 0 to whatever you have charged, that will be taxable. Some people are disputing that the ratio has not actually came, but as per the provisions of this circular and FAQ, they have made it very much clear that if you are crossing 7,500, then all the reimbursement charges will be taxable. Some people are thinking, suppose if your third-party reimbursement charges are 10,000 rupees, so people are what they are doing 10,000 minus 7,500. So they are not paying tax on 7,500 and they are paying tax on rest of the amount, that is 2,500. But that is not correct as per the circular or FAQ issued by the government.
Yeah, correct. Now, my last query in this written is, then additional queries are there, but last query is any tax and property tax collected by society. I think Deepak sir has explained these provisions while giving this presentation. So these are not taxable in the hands of society. Neither are they included in the calculation of 7,500 rupees also. Am I right, sir?
Deepak, would you like to answer this query?
Yes, yes. See, any statutory levies that you mentioned, property tax and all the electricity charges, all the statutory duties are exempt from services, and we need not consider whether they are whether the society is registered or not, or we need not consider them for the 7,500 limit also.
Okay, sir. Now, the additional queries I have listed out 2 or 3 of them out of your presentation as out of Kiran sir's question answer also. The 2 of very important one are electricity charges for common use. Now, electricity is provided by the electric supply undertaking, maybe Reliance or Adani or whatever is there. Now, these charges which are used for common lending, the passages and the garden area and parking area and all these places, I have observed that sometimes the societies collect heavy amount under the heading of electricity charges in the bill itself. In that case, because electricity is exempt totally from the purview of GST provisions, they consider that, say for example, the total bill is 10,000 If they charge 3,000 over electricity, the bill will go below 7,500 rupees. And they are under the impression that by charging 3,000 rupees, they are coming out of the purview of the GST laws. On the one hand, on the other hand, what happens is they don't realize that at the rate of 3,000, they will collect much more amount at the end of the year. And their expenditure of electricity, for example, 1 lakh rupees, but their collection is 3 lakhs rupees. So what exactly is the practical solution of this kind of problem which society face, not intentionally, but sometimes, they are either accordingly guided or they are not understood. So your words of advice in this matter.
Sir, I will advise that such a thing should not be done. First of all, there are various provisions for valuation under GST Act. First of all, this society and members, though they are considered a distinct persons for the levy of a tax, but actually they are related person. And when they are related person, then it becomes basically whatever consideration you have applied towards a head, that is under verification. And if it is found it is actually a transfer of one head into the other head, then officer has a very right and authority to bifurcate that thing and actually levy tax on that appropriate amount along with interest and penalty. So I will advise you not to go for such kind of things. Rather, basically, whatever charges are electricity, you are very well within option to take it as exempted, and rest of the charges wherever applicable, you have to pay tax. That is my advice, sir.
Okay, sir. One more query about ITC. Say, for example, there is a security expenditure of 10 lakhs rupees for 1 year in a small society. Now, the society has two types of member, below 7,500 also and above 7,500 also. In case of above 7,500 rupees, naturally the GST is charged on the entire amount. However, as far as the collection is concerned, say for example, 40% of the members are below and 60% are above, then 4 lakhs will not be chargeable out of the service charges. So in that case, can you throw light as to how we get the ITC?
Sir, you have to total charges collected from the members. You have to bifurcate that charges into the taxable charges and exempted charges. It will be a simple exercise, right? And if you suppose out of the total 100 rupees collected, you have suppose 30 rupees the exempted charges and 70 rupees you are paying tax. So same proportion of 70% you will apply to the ITC, and you will take 70% of ITC and 30% ITC will not be available to you. Okay. It will be a simple calculation.
Okay, sir. One more query. When Deepak sir said that Section 24 requires a society to register if it is required to pay taxes on the RCM basis. Now, practically in the city like Mumbai, by and large, every society, if not GTA, it has the services of the advocate. And security services are definitely by every society. Even though only one guard is there, very small society of 20 members, a single building, only 7 floors, it will have a security guard which is provided by the security agency. And as you said, RCM is applicable on security. That means even though the collection of the society is much less than 20 lakhs rupees, if Section 24 as explained by Deepak sir, in that case, what will happen? I will be required to go for registration under Section 24.
Sutar sir, just let me clarify this.
Yes.
As far as security services are concerned, only the registered dealers or the registered taxpayers required to pay tax on reverse charge in respect to security services.
Okay, what about advocate fees, sir?
If in any case, advocate fees, if they are given to the business entities whose turnover is below 20 lakhs, they are exempted in itself.
Okay, that means that problem is solved. Yeah, right.
But if the society is registered, then they are liable for the reverse charge.
Okay, so the society should not require to be registered under section 24 if their turnover is less than 20 lakhs rupees, and they are also liable to pay the RCM, because RCM provision will apply only when cooperative societies, only if they are liable to pay.
This is true in respect of security services
Yeah,
and the advocate services. But as far as GTA services are concerned, no matter what your turnover is, you will be liable for registration, because there is no condition of any turnover, or the registration condition. It does not exist under the GTA services.
Oh,
You can take care कि basically you should not the turnover if less than 20 lakhs rupees, you should not procure services of GTA. That will be the only message to be conveyed. Either this just actually GTA is a different concept, but you can hire this truck or tempo for doing that, because they are not GTA. So in such fashion, you can arrange your affairs.
Dharmendra ji, you have some queries
Yeah.
in the chat box.
Yes,
Please
sir.
go ahead with those.
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So there is a query about the limit of 20 lakh rupees which we have in the turnover. So whether we need to include the statutory payments also in the 20 lakh?
Deepak, you would like to?
Yes. See, whatever even the aggregate turnover includes even the exempt services also. So even though these are exempt from levy of taxes, while calculating the 20 lakhs limit, you need to add up even the exempt receipts plus the taxable receipts covered under 77B and 77C. So they will get covered.
That
Okay.
society should keep in mind, generally the major portion of a society is sometimes interest portion. So people are ignoring that interest, because that interest is also, though it is exempted, it is a major chunk of the society's income. And because of that, society may exceed the turnover of 20 lakhs rupees. So this thing should be taken into care.
Okay. The next question is that what is the definition of turnover? Which components are to be considered?
Deepak, will?
In the aggregate turnover for the purpose of registration for the 20 lakhs limit, we have the taxable services as well as the exempt services as well as the non-taxable services also. So
Okay.
almost everything comes into it. Any supply or every supply will come under the definition of aggregate turnover for the purpose of calculating this limit. But if the entire services are exempt, though the turnover is more than 20 lakhs, then by virtue of another section, section 23, then you are not liable to take registration. So though your aggregate turnover for the purpose of section 22 goes about 20 lakhs, but it is of entirely exempt services. They are either the statutory services or those falling within that limit of 7,500, and there is nothing else. Then though the turnover is going beyond 20 lakhs, then also by virtue of section 23. So whenever you cross a limit of 20 lakhs, you should first check whether you are covered by section 23 or not. So if you are covered by section 23, then again no need for taking registration.
You have to see your right hand side of your balance sheet or trading profit loss account जो भी है कि इसमें सब total income वहाँ पे आ जाता है sir. If that is more than 20 lakhs rupees, and sometimes entries are done net off, so you have to be careful. In that case, suppose your transport is, just for example, not be relevant to this, your transport income is 1,000 rupees. And at the transport expenses are 800 rupees. So sometimes as per your accounting principle, you put 200 rupees as a income. You do it net up, but actually that income will be 1,000 rupees. So this thing should also be taken into account.
Yeah, sir, there is an example
Okay,
for
sir.
this also. Say transfer premium, if there are 8 transfer in a year, at the rate of 25,000, 2 lakhs rupees is directly credited to the general reserve and doesn't reflect on the right hand side.
So you have to
you
take
are
care.
pointing out to that case.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes.
thank you, sir. Dharmendra,
Our next question,
Yeah.
So past president Shirish Rege has asked one question here. If a society exceeds the limit of rupees 7,500 per month and rupees 20 lakh, so for registration in a particular year because of some repair work that comes up once in a few years, so will it be liable to pay GST in subsequent year even if the turnover is subsequent year is less than 20 lakhs and monthly billing is less than 7,500?
Yes, sir, basically. Considering the principle, Deepak, would you like to answer or shall
Yes, yes. See, once you get registered, once your registration is cancelled, you have to, yes, as per the provisions of law. So now
Deepak,
when you
your
are
voice-
liable for
Deepak-
cancellation of registration,
Deepak, your voice was
Yes.
breaking. Please repeat.
am I audible now?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah, please.
See, whenever you take registration, you become a taxable person, and a taxable person has to keep paying taxes till his registration is cancelled, no matter whether his turnover is reduced in a subsequent year or not. Now, when do you get your RC cancelled? There are provisions. It says when in a previous financial year your turnover gets reduced than the threshold limit, then you can apply for cancellation and get the RC cancelled. Only when your registration is cancelled, then you have to stop filing returns and paying taxes. So whenever in a previous financial year your turnover is less than 20 lakhs, you are very well within, you have an option to file for the cancellation of your registration.
Okay. The next question is, what is the GST liability for current members in redevelopment projects? Whether GST is payable on full area, that is existing carpet area plus free area offered by developers? And what is the rate considered and percentage of the GST calculation?
Actually, this is with not respect with respect to the taxation of property.
Yeah. I know.
Real
But,
estate taxation.
I will throw some light on this. But not exactly I am answering to your queries.
Yeah.
But this issue has now been popped up as there is now amendment in this Finance Bill 2021 in which supply actually this transaction between they were already, we are assuming that the transaction between the societies and members are taxable or within the ambit of GST. But some Kolkata club judgment has created some doubts on it. So,
Ranchi Club.
yeah,
Ranchi.
Ranchi, Kolkata High Court judgment.
Ranchi Club.
I think Supreme Court also actually.
Yeah, that went to the Supreme Court.
Yes, but that have created some doubt. But department or this government has now amended the definition of a supply retrospectively from 1st July 17. And brought this transaction between the society and member into the ambit of supply. So all the doubts or this now have been settled, and taxation will be there very well since 1/7/2017. Regarding sir this development redevelopment, now this picture is clear. This builder will levy tax on this society, and society will in turn will levy tax on the members. But there is a not actually this is not concerned, and there are disputes now, and it is going on. Government has also put up some proposals related to that, so they are actually not finalized. So, but as of now, there is a taxation between the services provided by builder to society and services provided by society to the members.
Okay.
So the next question is that what happens in case of security services?
Dharmendra,
Please.
I would like to add to his.
Yeah, please.
To the Ranchi Club and all these things, and he also referred to the finance bill. Now let me, for the benefit of participants, add to that. Say what happened was, in case of Ranchi Club as well as in Inavils Club, Federation Club in Calcutta, as well as Lions Club of Pune, and Queen's Necklace Rotary Club in Bombay High Court. All these cases, the issue was raised about the mutuality concept and the same person concept, that the society and the members are the same person. To mitigate this issue, the budget proposal, the finance bill, as said by Kiran sir, has been amended as a clarificatory amendment, and the society will be considered a separate person in distinction with the members of the society. So I think this particular thing now gets rested, and no further arguments or the this kind of argument will merit as far as the chargeability of the members is concerned. Please go ahead with other queries.
Yeah. So the next question is that what happens in case of security services? Is it on RCM basis? And in the case, is registration compulsory?
Deepak, would you?
See, security services, when it is offered by any person, then when it is offered to a registered person, one who is already registered, then the tax is payable on RCM basis, reverse charge basis by that registered person. Suppose society is not already registered, or society is not liable to be registered, and it is procuring the security services. In such cases, the security company is liable to pay tax on forward charge basis because society is not registered. When society is not registered, RCM will not be applicable. It is only by virtue of society's other transactions. If society is already registered, then only the additional liability of paying taxes on RCM basis in respect of security services will also have to be borne by the society, otherwise not.
Security services issue is related to only registered society. If it is unregistered, then RCM will not be there. If it is registered, then and then there will be RCM.
Okay, so the next question, I think that response has already been given in the previous question, but I read out the question here. Society going for major repair as per the structure audit report, naturally the turnover only for the current year will be about 20 lakhs, not in regular course, whether liable to register only for this current year. So I think you have already responded. Yeah.
Webinar માં કેટલાક question answer કર્યો છે online મારા seminar માં.
I think
Hiralal ji, aap,
પૂરો થાય એટલે હું call back કરું છું.
okay, so this question has already been responded by you. Yeah. So the next question is, since sinking fund will be used in future, say 10 years hence, the ITC benefit will never be usable. So, so your views on that?
See, currently, as per the FAQs issued by the government, we are saying sinking fund comes under the limit of 7,500 under 77. So any charges which are taken from the members or as a sinking fund charges, so these can be now considered against the 77C exemption, that is whether 7,500 limit gets covered or not. Even after charging these sinking fund charges, your limit of 7,500 is not crossed, then no GST would be payable on such collection of charges. But if the charges become more than 7,500, even by virtue of collection of these sinking fund charges, then they would be treated accordingly and that entire amount would get taxable.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, if only a couple of members cross the amount of 7,500, will it be chargeable under GST, or only when all the members cross the amount of 7,500?
See, this is basically if the society's turnover is crossing 20 lakhs. If the society's turnover has not crossed 20 lakhs, then in both the cases, no GST is likely to be recovered from the members and paid by the society. Now, suppose society is already registered or society is liable for registration. In those cases, only in those cases where the 7,500 limit is crossing, only in those cases society needs to collect taxes from the members as a separate GST. In respect of other members, wherever the amount is falling below this 7,500 limit, for the purpose of 77C, they will not collect the taxes. But for the purpose of the society levying certain other charges like parking charges, in those cases, even those other members will also be liable to pay the GST.
In the same, in connection of the same question, some question has been posted now. Can we collect sinking fund as a deposit and bill only when using the sinking fund and pay GST?
See, what I feel is, since the government has clearly said the sinking fund gets covered under 77C, that it would be considered under 77C as services wherein reimbursement is being done for procurement from third parties. Now, only by changing the head of the name of the collection charges, I won't think the basic nature would change.
I will add to this answer of Deepak sir. Under the provisions of the Societies Act and the bylaws, particularly bylaw number 65, there is no concept of taking deposit from members of the society. As far as the housing societies are concerned, the bylaw number 65 lists the items under which the society can collect contribution from the member. These items do not include anything of the nature of deposit, and therefore it will be futile exercise and may not be as per the provisions of the bylaws, sir.
Thank you, Sutar sir. This adds to our knowledge also.
Yeah, so the next question is, how do we as a society know that the service provider has remitted the GST amount or not? This is especially if the society is unregistered.
We actually didn't get it.
You mean certain supplies have been procured by the society, inward supplies. He has charged GST on the society, and the society wants to know whether
and GST is charged by the
vendor has paid or not, whether vendor has paid the GST or not to the government.
Actually, you can go on a website, department's website, where know your taxpayer. In that, actually, they are showing you the GSTN number of that. If you put that GSTN number, then they are showing whether this return filing status, whether he has filing is a regular filer of a return. So you can procure such where you take care while initiating any transaction with them, whether you can secure on the website he is a regular taxpayer, so that there will not be any problem in future in availing ITC by you.
Sir, it is not in the context of availing ITC, but is a concept of good citizenship. That if somebody is collecting from us, whether he has deposited is a bogus, collection.
Actually, Sutar sir, we can only know whether he's registered or not. We can only know whether he's filing returns or not. But specifically, again, whether your turnover is whether he has included while filing in the return or not, that cannot be known. In general, you can know about his status as a defaulter or not.
So as a good citizen, if somebody wants to come forward that Mr. X is collecting the GST from me, and I'm not aware whether he's paying to the department or not, because I am paying extra in the form of GST. That's a concern of the citizen. That's the reason this query, I think.
So basically, department has been very well identified this problem and actually shown the status of the that taxpayer on the system. And because of the confidentiality clause, the department cannot reveal the details of his turnover and tax payment to the normal any person.
Thank you, sir. Dharmendra, if there is any query, otherwise,
one more query. One more last query is there. That what is the GST liability for current member in a redevelopment project, payable on what area and what rate?
See, this redevelopment projects, see, society basically under the real estate development, schemes, if the society gets an additional FSI, they go for this redevelopment projects. Now what happens is society surrenders surrenders or rather grants the development rights to the developer, and the developer develops this. They give to the original members or the existing members certain flats with say certain area as per the agreement, and certain new FSI, additional FSI uh, is actually sold by the builder or the developer to the new buyers, and he procures his entire cost of the building from the said sales to the new buyers. Now, currently, the situation or the stand of the this GST taxation is both these transactions, those which are sold to the new buyers as well as those which are transferred to the existing members, both are liable for taxation. In case of the new buyers, he knows the price. In case of the existing buyers, there is no consideration as such. In those cases, the price or the value of the similar flats is taken for the purpose of levy of tax.
And tax will be levied as per 1% or 5%. This new scheme of taxation 1/4/2019.
Okay. Yeah, so the questions are over, and so there is some post here. Since vendor has a registration, he ought to pay. We can work on a helpline where at least one-way information can be obtained by putting in invoice details. So I think you have already responded to this.
Actually, this is a concern of all the citizens. Whenever we go and buy certain goods, and in our bills we say GST being collected at 18%, we are naturally concerned. We many times have a doubt whether this person is collecting as much as 18% additional from me, whether is he really paying these taxes to the government or not. We all are concerned about this. Currently, we have got no system to verify this, whether the taxes collected from us. All we can verify is whether the current dealer is really registered or not, and is he really filing the returns or not, whether he's a return defaulter or not. So maybe in future, when e-invoicing is introduced some sort, maybe government may plan that the citizens should have this window to verify whether the amounts collected from them are paid or not. But currently we do not have such a facility.
Just to add, Deepak, actually, you can actually very well check your GSTR 2A. That is whatever supplier has filed GSTR 1. So all the supply details, they are reflected in GSTR 2A. If you see your GSTR 2A, then you will find so many the details of the suppliers to who have supplied to you, and accordingly he can also, whether you can check whether he has filed 3B or not. So he has filed GSTR 1, details of supplies, which are reflected in your GSTR 2A, so that you can very well take ITC on that. And at the same time, in a status report, it is seen that dealer has filed return 3B. So your work is over, because he has filed the GSTR 3B and your transaction has been reflected in GSTR 2A. So your duty is over, and you can very well claim ITC on that invoices.
So thank you, sir. Over to Hiralalji.
Dharmendra, please go ahead with the vote of thanks. A nice presentation by both the learned speakers and really enlightening. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Sir,
So,
we will also thank you for giving us invitation for such a nice interaction, and this is a learning process for us also. We are also this is not a one way. Basically, while drafting rule and all these things, major precaution has been taken, major incidences have been covered. But and when that applicability or implementation is actually done, then some issues or peculiarities comes which have been not thought of, and we get to know all these details from you people, and accordingly we can amend and we can streamline the act. So thank you for inviting us, and on the department side also, I'm thanking you for inviting us for such a good interaction. And Thanks. If any query are there, you can send that queries to Deepak or me, and we will answer that query. Thank you. Deepak,
Definitely, sir.
Deepak, you want to say something?
Yeah, it was a great interaction session. And if any queries are there, you can please mail them to us, and we will try and get back to you with the answers.